Well, as you could tell, I'm still traveling, so I'm out of town as I'm recording these things. So it's really a joy to do this while I'm traveling. And the background will be different when I get back home and back in my home studio. You'll notice. But right now, I'm still traveling. Today, we're going to be in Hebrews chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Last time, we did kind of an overview of chapter 3, verses 1 through 6 to get our bearings on where we're at and how the argument or the case the writer and speaker is developing here is progressing. So we said that in Hebrews chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, we will be looking at how Jesus is preeminent to Moses, first by comparing him to Moses, and second by contrasting him. So today we're looking at the comparison. Let's just take a look here. First of all, notice that the writer starts out by saying, consider. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to consider Jesus. Now, consider is a word that means to kind of observe carefully, take some time and reflect on. You could think of this as meditating on him, meditating on his life, meditating on him as a person, what he's done, why he's done it, and how this relates to us personally. What we're doing in each of these short videos as we make our way through Hebrews is really meditating on Jesus. So that's what we're going to continue to do here. And I want you to make note of three things about Jesus that the writer tells us. He calls him an apostle in verse 1, a high priest also in verse 1, and faithful. These are comparisons with Moses. So let's take them in order here. First of all, consider the apostle Jesus. Well, if we're comparing him with Moses, Moses was a kind of a forerunner, a sent one. That's what apostle means. He's a sent one. He's sent by God. He's the authoritative, designated representative of God. He speaks for God. He does God's work, literally, in the flesh. That's what he's doing. And he is this kind of mediator between God and Israel. So, for example, in Exodus 33:17, Moses intervened. The Lord was ready to destroy Israel because of their sin at the base of Sinai. And the Lord said to Moses intervened for them, and the Lord said to Moses, I will also do this thing of which you have spoken, that is, don't destroy them, for you have found favor in my sight, and I have known you by name. So again, God knows Moses. He's designated him. He's going to listen to what Moses has said, and Moses is going to intervene. Well, Jesus, in the same way as he hung on the cross in Luke 23:34, as Jesus hung on the cross, you know the familiar words, Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. Jesus is acting as that intercessor, that mediator, just like Moses was, that apostle sent from God. So that's Jesus as we meditate on him, to remember that he has been God's authoritative messenger, his authoritative spokesman. And just like Moses, he was God's authoritative ruler or governor. Moses over the burgeoning nation of Israel, Jesus over the coming millennial kingdom. Second, Jesus is referred to as high priest. Well, Jesus was not only the appointed ruler, authoritative representative of God, as Moses was, but Moses' brother was God's high priest, and he was the representative in regards to spiritual things of God to man and man to God. He was that go-between, again, stressing this mediatorial role. So just as Moses and his brother were the authoritative representatives. And as Moses and Aaron governed and ministered to the nation of Israel, so Jesus alone, one person, will both govern and minister in the coming millennial kingdom. This is important to note this, and the Bible speaks to it all throughout. For example, when we talk about Jesus ruling and governing over the earth during his millennial kingdom, we can go to Psalm 72 and see how that is going to work out in Jesus' ministry as king. We can also look at Ezekiel 41 through 48, particularly chapter 46, to understand how Jesus is going to operate as priest also during that millennial kingdom. So Jesus is identified as apostle and high priest, and then as we go down in this passage, we see him identified in verse 2 as faithful. He was faithful to him who appointed him, as Moses also was in all God's house. So, just as Moses said and did all God had planned, and I will point out that he was faithful despite the disobedience of Israel, so Jesus is also going to accomplish and is accomplishing all that God has planned exactly how he planned it, including, as we learned in chapter 2, verse 11, the saving and sanctifying of a people. So Jesus is an apostle, like Moses. He's high priest, as Moses' brother Aaron, and he's also faithful as Moses was. Now, Hebrews had one final faithful revealer of God's rule and ministry in Moses and Aaron. Those were the two men that showed that for Old Testament Israel. Now we today have this final singular revealer of God's will and God's ministry to us. We need to be focused. We need, we're commanded here, to consider Jesus, to think deeply about him, to think reflectively about him. You can think about this, as I said, as meditating on him is what we're doing in our study, is going slowly, meditatively. Now, the governance and the ministry that Jesus provides is going to be explained as we go in more detail as we go forward through Hebrews. But it's primarily today spiritual. It's spiritual governance, spiritual ministry. But there's coming a day, and I think it's coming soon, when Jesus' governance and ministry will be exercised personally. He'll be among us, as he's promised to do. We must live, brothers and sisters, expectantly, waiting for his personal reign to begin at any time. As Dr. Walvoord used to say with regard to the rapture, maybe today, maybe today. So I'd encourage you, really beg you, implore you, to live in light of his soon coming. Consider him, meditate on him, think about him, the apostle and high priest of our confession. God bless you, brothers and sisters, and let's get together next time to look at verses 3 through 6 and how Jesus is contrasted with Moses.